Oh, okay. This is Torah 8 on the second Chelik Likutey Moharan. Tanina, that's exactly right.
That's it. Good sugar. Oh, I'll take that one.
So being that we have, Baruch Hashem, new faces, this Torah is huge. It's big. It's complex. Amen. So this particular Torah Rabbeinu starts by saying that rebuking, admonishing someone is a very sensitive business. It's a very sensitive business. And the reason why it is because when done improperly, and Rebbe Akiva basically says that he wonders if anybody in his generation that is capable of doing it the way it should be done. And the reason why this is such a sensitive issue is because the goal of admonishing anyone or rebuking anyone is to bring him closer to where he's supposed to go, not to drive him away. Now the thing is that when a person does something, the bad deeds have naturally a bad smell. It's a spiritual bad smell, spiritual stench. Now, when a person, I'm gonna give him a glass of this cup of. When a person does something and suddenly, that his shame is being exposed, that causes him to suddenly realize the foul smell of his deeds. Some people, it can cause them to commit suicide. It's just too much. Now, we said that in order to be able to admonish properly, what needs to be done, the person needs to have the proper voice. We said this is a rather large spectrum. What does a proper voice mean? On one hand, when it comes to us, you can say the same words, but with a different voice inflection, the result is very, very different. As we said quite a few times. You can ask a question, a person, where have you been? And by the inflection of your voice, you can either accuse him of not being where he's supposed to be. It could be a friendly inquiry. It could be a wondrous interest, like, wow, where have you been? No. You've been to China? Wow. Incredible, right? know. I don't know. But this is on our level. And we sort of got down to business with that kind of admonishment, which means that on our level, you never admonish the person. You never put down the person. You put down the deeds. But on a much higher spiritual level, there is a level of the tzaddikim, Moshe Rabbeinu. They already say, they tell people out in the most blunt manner there is. You can see by Yirmiyahu Novi, obviously, it's like that. And all the Nevi'im, they used extremely harsh language. But then, in order to be able to do that, and for the rebuke of admonishment to actually achieve its goal of bringing people closer, I said that what it does is that instead of making people stink by themselves, for a lack of a better word, it gives them a good smell. Introduces a good smell to them. Meaning, instead of feeling like a piece of something that, like the rot you can get close to, they feel that somebody like me should do something like this. I mean, being rebuked actually makes them feel better about themselves. It's a very important point, because the reason why people do bad things, especially when it comes to children, and then it goes on as they grow up, is because they are convinced. They were convinced by the circumstances, the experiences of their lives. They are bad. They're bad. Well, if they're bad, then they should be doing bad things. Because doing bad things confirms for them the self-image that they have. A good boy that is convinced that he's a bad boy will behave like a bad boy because he's a good boy. And that's what he's supposed to do. If his father, his mother, whether his teachers, whatever it is, the world around him, judges him, gives him the feeling that he is no good. If he's going to do good, we're talking subconsciously, if he's going to do good, then the whole world is basically turned upside down. The entire world is wrong and I'm right. That's not the way a child does. That's not what a child does. In order to return the balance of normalcy, as it were, in the world, if a child believes that he is bad, he behaves badly, so that already puts all the powers that be in their proper position. My father knows what he's talking about. My mother knows what she's talking about. My teacher knows what he's talking about. Everything is all right with the world. Because I'm behaving, that's... People always, all the bad deeds that people do, which means these are bad deeds that are the result of judgment, Obviously, if there's no das, there's no good or bad. It's basically all something to either return the equilibrium, or else people feel so bad about themselves that they simply try to, the type of yadua is the most prevalent antidepressant there is. People do these things in order to feel good, in order to lift themselves up. Because when people do bad things, they feel guilty. And eventually they don't even know am I feeling guilty because I'm doing bad things? Or am I actually doing bad things in order to feel guilty? Because guilt is my default option. I'm guilty. That's a given. Guilty of what? I didn't do anything. Okay, so let's do something that will take care of that. And it becomes a vicious cycle. So the idea is the only way that you can get a person out of this is basically to implant, as it were, into a person a good smell about himself. You can call it a good image about himself. A sense of worth. And when this is done while the infractions are being revealed, when the averos are being revealed, when the sins are being revealed, it cements it that much more firmly into the person. Now, the thing is that good smell, that good esteem, that is your shemayim. You're aware, a person is aware of the wrongs that he has done. By feeling good about himself, the result of this is your shemayim. A person that doesn't have your shemayim doesn't feel bad about doing bad things.
Doesn't feel bad about
doing bad things.
why?
Because he thinks it's normal.
Why aren't they afraid of the police and all that?
Yeah, but that's not your shemayim. That's not your shemayim. What I'm saying when it's other verkehrt is that being afraid of the police, whatever it is part of the punishment that people feel that they need to be punished.
They feel they what?
They feel they need to be punished.
We want to get caught. Am I supposed to feel bad because I don't feel bad that I did something bad?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So we said that this good smell is your shemayim. This good smell is the voice of the proper admonisher, and it is called Kol HaYotzeh. It's Nar, it's an Eden, it's a river that comes out of Eden and waters the garden. The garden is the place where the neshamas grow. Because ultimately, the rebuke that stirs people in the right direction while making them feel good is a voice that is comprised of pure chesed. There can't be a more refined kavana, a more giving kavana, than telling a person, that he has done or he or she done something wrong in a way that makes them feel good about themselves. So you have the action that creates a good feeling, a good smell, but in the neshama of the person. And you are leading a person towards his goal. You bring a person closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu. That kind of, this is the essence of Yerushalayim. That brings the person to Yerushalayim. So you can say, yeah, but what's it got to do with me though? I am who I am, and I'm doing this crazy chasing around my tail of why do I keep on doing this? I'm feeling bad about doing this and keep on doing this and what's the story with that? Where's the way out? The voice of the proper admonisher is not just one person admonishing another. It's also the person admonishing himself. A person needs to have the proper voice to admonish himself. Because when a person beats himself down, that doesn't bring him close to Kodesh Baruch Hu. It camouflages itself as if it does that.
It's cheshbon nefesh.
It's not. It's cheshbon nefesh is something that needs to be done, at all times. But it has to be a mishpat. This is an issue that we spoke about quite a few times. How does a person judge himself? Rabbi Yitzchok used to say that any kind of mishpat, any kind of judgment, any kind of trial needs to have prosecution, defense, and a judge. If you are judging yourself, what you call cheshbon nefesh, with only the prosecutor around, that's not a trial. That's not a mishpat. That's an ambush. It's a targeted killing. The Yetzer Hara having a field day with you. The way a person is supposed to judge himself is to come before HaKadosh Baruch Hu and give, the prosecution. Okay, you go ahead and you say, look at yourself. The defendant, which is me, looked at things that he need not look at, thoughts that he need not to think, did things that he needs not to do, and blah, 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 and every single word is true. Because obviously, the mishpat is taking place before Kodesh Baruch Hu. And once the prosecution rests its case, the defense comes along. And it says all the stuff that the defender would say. It says only the truth, mind you, only the truth. Let's say prosecution said, you don't daven. Yeah, you go through the you put on talcum film, whatever, but you don't daven. Come on, let's call the spade a spade, all right? I mean, it's just like, come on, let's put things on the table. You don't daven. First of all, you start from Hodi. That's not where the davening starts. Starts from Odin Oilam. You don't say karbanas. And even if you do, you don't even know what you're saying. Korban chatas. How do you spritz the blood? You're saying it every morning. Wait. Don't tell me. I know. Wait. Korban chatas, right? Okay. Is it the one you go up to Kevish and then you go to the right and you put it on the corner? Is that the one? Or you put it on both? And that's if you already know what you're talking about. And then, okay, you said, let's say that you are saying, take a look at Sukkot Zimra. You even realize what you said? Okay, let's say that you're Shemaim and you say, Posech Esedecha, Mosbiel Chol Chai Ratzon and Ashrei. You actually keep it in mind what you're saying. The rest of the stuff is a blur. And so forth and so on. So now comes the defender. He said, with all due respect, I'm ADD. My mind cannot keep on one thing for more than a minute or two. I can't do it. I just can't do it. And besides that, I don't hold there. I want to daven properly, but whenever I try, it just doesn't go. I can keep it up maybe for 10, 15 seconds, and I'm gone. So the prosecution says, how dare you bring such a flimsy excuses? I'm sorry. When you talk, I didn't disturb you. Don't disturb me. Hey, what you said was the truth. What I'm saying is the truth as well. Just as true. And when you finish, with all the, the prosecution, the defense, whatever it is, comes the time for the judge. And you're asking the Kodesh Baruch Hu, okay, what is the proper judgment here? You'll be surprised. Most times you will come to the conclusion, the judge comes to the conclusion that both the prosecution and the defense are right. Because the judge is not a hanging judge. The judge is the sense of bringing you to the purpose of self-judgment, what you call cheshbon nefesh, is to bring you closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The prosecution, the defense, are all talking about what are the circumstances, what is actually happening, and what are the reasons, the pros and cons, of everything that's happening. And the idea is to come up with a useful solution that will get you one step further. And I want to tell you that you cannot do that. You cannot do that unless you are able to admonish yourself with the voice of the Mochiach HaRa'ui. And the voice of the Mochiach HaRa'ui, it starts the whole process. It makes the process effective. Is when you come and you take a look at, let's say, how pathetic I am and how I don't do what other people do with half their brain time behind their back just to make it fair. And how hopeless I am and what a lazy bum I am and blah, 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 blah. And comes the question of, have I ever been different? Since I was a kid, was I ever any different? Was I really able to do things and this and that, or whatever it is, and suddenly I wilted and became, I don't know what. No, I'm pretty much the same person I always were. Always was. So maybe that's the way I'm supposed to be. What are you talking about? Supposed to behave that way? No, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that me as a person who lives in the world of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is supposed to live with these proclivities, with these tendencies, with this Yetzer Hara, with these abilities and these disabilities. And from here, I need to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this life. And there's nobody else in the world that have the same kind of advantages and disadvantages that I have. Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want me to have other people advantages because otherwise he would have made me them. He made me. Which means that I am in a unique position to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu from my own premise. Right? So the first step in a proper admonishing, when you call yourself to task, has to start with accepting and agreeing to be you. I agree to be who I am. Bevadai. Bevadai. Adrabe, when I agree to be who I am, I become a Ben Melech that is made totally of gems, of Avonim Tovos. As the story of Rabbeinu talks about. When you agree to be who you are, then the Kodesh Tovos shine. It's when I don't agree to be who I am. When all I listen is just, to the call of the improper admonisher, I just, smell foul to myself. I taste horrible to myself. I don't want to be myself. And just leave me alone. Just, I don't need this. I didn't sign up for this, as it were. The Rebbe says that this is when a person is properly admonished, either by others or by himself. And this strengthens the neshama. It's called Mazonu de Nishma. It's called the feed of the neshama. When the Sitra Achra takes away, it gets its place in. It's called Mazonu de Gufa. It's the physical aspect of a person that takes the ascendance. He's the one that rules. So we have said that there is the voice that waters the garden, that where this garden, all the good smells and all the years are growing. There is, which is Pchinas, the feed of the soul and the feed of the neshama. And when you feed the neshama, it holds down the feet of the body and vice versa. It's a seesaw. And the proper admonisher has to admonish Am Yisrael or himself. He needs this voice so that he will not cause these neshamas to smell bad by themselves, be discouraged, to be driven away, but actually to give them a good smell into them. And then the Rebbe starts, and Simon Bessie says, okay, so how do you come to this? How do you get this kind of voice? So the Rebbe says it's tefillah. He says that the essence of tefillah is rachamim and tachanunim, is begging and rachamim. He says the ikar rachamim has to do with the das. It comes from the das. What is true rachamim? What isn't? Depends on the das. Das means the ability to judge. When a baby is hungry, says, okay, something, let's give him a club sandwich.
What's a club sandwich?
What?
What is a club sandwich?
Pastrami sandwich. In other words, it's a grown man's food. That's not Rahmanas. That's not Rahmanas, right? Rahmanas means that you are bestowing upon the receiver the kind of bounty, the kind of shefa that is measured to bring him toyelis, to bring him benefit. The baby is a little bit of milk, maybe some apple puree, with a spoon, and you realize that the baby eats by smearing anything around his mouth. So what is the mouth for? The mouth is so you know around what to smear. That's the way a baby is. So in other words, Rahmanas is not doing something which is generous. Rahmanas means being generous in the proper measurement, in the proper way. That's real Rahmanas. And you can't do that, you can't measure this without the das. Without the shikra das, okay, what's the best thing? You take a kid, a 7-year-old kid, and you put $1,000 in his pocket. Maybe you're being generous, but you're being extremely cruel. So this is the way the thing is that the das is in the tefillah. The tefillah is Rahmanas. And sometimes the sitra achra, in other words, that's what the sitra achra does. Tefillah is a unique situation. It's where a person is speaking to his maker. It's a connection where there's flow of shefa comes from above, from the kedusha. Now the sitra achra gets hungry like everything else, like any creation, and it feeds off the tefillah. Time of tefillah, this is when there is shefa coming down. Now, what it does is, when the sitra achra actually plugs in to the Rahmanas, it does two things. First of all, it pulls the Rahmanas to them. You know what's real Rahmanas? You let people who are men decide that being men is what you feel like. It's not, how you were born. In other words, if you feel like a giraffe, you're a giraffe. That's Rahmanas. And anybody can marry absolutely anything within doorknob. That means that the sitra achra has taken the Rahmanas. You feel like a doorknob. Shouldn't I call you Mr. Doorknob? And you realize where this is going. This is when the sitra achra takes the Rahmanas and he says that if you're against this, you're worse than a Nazi. You're like the most inhumane, whatever. That's why you got the entire world, every Rahmanas, on the Hamas. That sitra achra takes the Rahmanas, and the Rahmanas turns into cruelty. It has the facade of Rahmanas, but it's really cruelty. And Rabbeinu says not only that the sitra achra takes the Rahmanas to itself, but it contaminates whatever Rahmanas that we have left by ourselves, the Kedusha. We also get to, maybe many times the decisions are not easy, they're not easy. What are you going to do? I have those poor souls, that are hostages in Gaza. What can you do? On the other hand, you realize that's the whole game. That's the name of the game. That's why they did it. And if you give in to that, you might as well just lock the door and turn off the light. The last one goes out, turn off the light. That's it. It's finished. That's what they did. They're going to do it again. There's no... and people are already getting tired. That's Rahmanis. That's bad. You really can't. It's a fight you can't win. Yeah, how are you going to win? These kind of our Rahmanis also becomes contaminated, and this is when the Rebbe says this the little Rahmanis that comes, it turns our moich into moich and the katnus, anger, cruelty. The inevitable result is taivas niyuf. I got to have some relief. I'm so nervous. You have to understand. I got to be good to myself. I deserve this. God will forgive me. How do you know? I suffered so much. And Rabbeinu says that there are three mechitzas in the moich. There's chokhmah bina das. There's moichin in the mind. It's called chokhmah. There's a mind that's called bina, and there's a mind called das. And the chokhmah is the beginning of the idea. The bina is when you actually try to find out and you realize what is like. Let's say you hear a riddle. You've never heard it before. You're like, wow. You stop me. And then comes an idea, something, maybe that direction. That's the chachma. You still don't know anything. You don't know what the answer to the riddle is, but you have a direction. You have a spark. You have maybe this, and then your mind start racing around. Maybe this, maybe that. That's the bino. Then you figure it out. Once you figure it out, now it's stored. Now it's stored in your das, in your memory. Somebody asks you this riddle tomorrow, you have to go through the whole process of trying to figure it out. You remember, you know it. That's chokhmah bina das. The three tefillos in the day are derivatives of these three moichin. Shachris comes from chokhmah, because chokhmah is in the right side with the chesed, is Avraham. Avraham is the one that made Shachris. Gvura comes from a bina, Yitzchok, Mincha. And Tiferes is Yaakov, it's the Das, is Tiferes, this is Myra, which is a combination of the two. And Rabbeinu says that what happens is when the Rachmanis is damaged, the Das is damaged, a person is not able to pray with proper rachamim and tachanunim. Either a person davens because he has to daven, and if I don't put my tefillin and I daven, I'll feel really guilty. So let me just get rid of it and just go ahead and do it. Or else, a person feels, I deserve it. I deserve it. I don't have to work so hard on it. I don't have to beg so much. Basically, I deserve it. I mean, hey, a child pesters his parents, right? Why does he pester his parents? Because he feels he deserves it. So that's good when he begs his parents. But when he throws a tantrum, it throws a monkey wrench into the whole thing. Either don't give him at all, and become angry with him and it spoils the relationship, or else he gets what he wants, but that's not because he was given, but because he took it. Such children grow up to be the children that say, I never got anything from you. What do you mean? You got 5 times as much as all our other children combined. But he's right, because you never gave it to him. You always gave in. You appeased him. Because he threw tantrums. The child throws tantrum in the middle of an aisle in a supermarket. So you get him whatever he wants to, whatever he wants, just to shut him up. Because you're embarrassed when the people around. that child will never feel like he took. This is tefillah b'chinas din. It's not rachamim. You're not asking. You're not begging. It doesn't come from das amit because the das is already in the katnus. You never give me anything. You're a bad mommy. You're a bad tati. You're a bad this. You're a bad that. You should leave. I should give you what I want. Don't tell me what to do. That's my in the katnus. That's tefillas b'chinas din. Tefillah b'chinas din. That is the food of the Sitra Achra. That's what the Sitra Achra is all about. That's what it wants. Because tefillah means that there is the goodness of coming down Mishamayim. And b'chinas din, din is the food of the Sitra Achra. It gives credit to Sitra Achra, and what the Sitra Achra does is it swallows the kedusha of Am Yisrael. When at tefillah b'chinas din, the Sitra Achra is swallowing the kedusha of Masim Tovim, the kedusha of the mitzvahs. Tefillah that comes from Merchin the Katnos, which is anger, which is defiance, which comes from a feeling of entitlement. That is tefillah b'chinas din. When a person has a merchin dekatnos, when his das is twisted, is corrupted, he goes out and he protests and blocks the roads because he wants this judge to be or that to be or that to be. Because I want it. That's tefillah b'chinas din. I want the Kodesh Baruch Hu to do what he wants to do because anyway, if Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't do it for me, it's wrong. That's tefillah b'chinas din. Or, okay, I'll just go ahead and I'll daven and just let Kodesh Baruch Hu, and I'll just, throw out Kodesh Baruch Hu a bone, as it were, chas v'sholem, and just leave me out of it. Leave me alone. Okay, I'll daven, no. That's tefillah b'chinas din. That's what the Sitra Achra loves. That's where Rabbeinu says that when the tefillah is b'chinas din, when that is the situation, the Ramsa says this is the most important principle that brings about all the issues. When there is a surge of taivas niyuf, what you need at that particular time, like the times that we have now, that taiva rules the world. I mean, unless you agree that kind of perversion is normalcy, you are worse than a murderer. What you need is a tefillah b'chinas din of the tzaddik, who is a Baal Koyach Godol. And that tzaddik, when he davens a tefillah b'chinas din, in other words, a tefillah with azus, it's not, begging. It's like, hey, what's the deal with that? This is all messed up. But when the tzaddik HaGodol does that, Sitra Achra says, this is mine. Now I got this tzaddik, and he's down his tefillah. Oh. When he does like that, I got myself filet mignon, with all kinds of, The only problem is that the Sitra Achra is not able to swallow that tefillah. There's too much kedusha in it. The tefillah gets stuck in the throat of the Sitra Achra. You can say, what kind of an image is this? The tefillah gets stuck in the throat of Sitra Achra. What's going on here? The thing is that the throat of a person is a very, very specific place. It connects the head, the moichin. with the body. All the action takes place. This is where the achila and shtia comes. The food, the air, everything goes. It's a meitzar agoran. This is when it becomes very narrow. And when it's very narrow, things can get clogged up. Not only by the kedusha, but by the tumah as well. So when the tumah swallows that indigestible, unswallowable, in other words, the sitra basically bites more than it can chew, more than it can swallow. And then gets stuck in the throat of sitra. Is not able to process, to digest, to pull from kedusha all the way down to tumah at feel of the tzaddik agodol, the feel of the tzaddik bal koyach. It gets stuck in its throat. And at that very junction, okay, it's no longer on the outside. Now let's bring it inside the stomach where the juices can turn the kedusha into total tumah. It gets stuck there. What happens? We had this exactly kind of situation with Pinchas. Masav Zimri, Pinchas, there was a time of great taivas niyuf, great promiscuity. Comes Pinchas, he says, Pinchas vayifalel. Obviously, he davened. When he did what he did an action of din, by stabbing Zimri and Cosby, and he was davening at that time. What he was saying at that time, what was he saying? What is he davening? That says vayispavel, it says vayifalel. That's the word it says in the Chumash. What is vayifalel? The Medrash says melamed she'aso plilois in koinoi. He went in an argument with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. For these two, you're going to kill 24,000 people? He davened at tefillah b'chinas din. And the tefillah gets stuck in the throat of the sitra achra. What happens when something gets stuck in the throat of a person? He starts coughing. He starts expectorating. He starts throwing up. And the sitra achra, when that tefillah gets stuck in the meitzar agoran of the sitra achra, has to give back, has to throw back, return all the kedusha that it swallowed. What happens when a person throws up? Whatever he ate, he has to give back. But that's not everything that is happening there. What happens when a person keeps on being nauseous and he already threw up, he chucked up all of the food that he ate? What happens then? Then he starts, giving up its own essence. The juices that are in the stomach or whatever it is. So he's already his own chayas, his own essence. And the sitra achra also has to do that. And that, Rabbeinu says, the essence of the sitra achra that comes up at that particular point in time is the nishmas gerim. Gerim were used to be the very essence of the sitra achra, and now they become gerim. The sitra had to throw up its own essence. He throws up all the kedusha shabala, and he has to expectorate his atzmas chayes. This is the gerim. This is an incredibly important turn of events. In this week's Parsha, it's Parsha's Yisroi. The Parsha is named after Yisroi, who was the big kahuna of all David Desires in the world. He was the Pope. He was the Dalai Lama, the Dalai Kacha, Dalai whatever, the whole thing. the imam, everything. He was all over the Zohar in the world. He says, Ataya dati, now I've known, in this week's parasha, Gadol Hashem mikol Elokim, now Hashem is great in all Elokim. How do you know? Do you know the old Elokim? Yes, he does. We cannot even appreciate the greatness. I mean, just the sheer magnitude of Yisrael. It was Ish Emes. He tried, he looked everywhere, and he says, okay, this is all garbage. Until he realized he met a Kodesh Baruch Hu. After Yisrael comes, he teaches Moshe Rabbeinu what's the proper way to give mishpat. Then we get Matan Torah. The Zohar Kodesh says, when Yisrael came and he said, now I know that Hashem is greater than all the deities in the world. Yisrael, Mr. Sitra Achra, Mr. Avodah Zarah. Now the Torah can be given. The reason why this is so significant is because this is true for each and every one of us. We are all the time in the process of give and take with our averis, with our, the less savory parts of who we are. And it keeps on accumulating. And we don't even realize where it's holding anymore. Most of it we don't even see. It's like, I remember not long ago, I was in touch with someone I used to know when I was a teenager, whatever. And that person told me, like how I behaved, and that mode of behavior was not just with that particular person. That's the way I was. And I realized for the first time in my life, I always saw things from the way I saw it, Like, okay, I realized suddenly that I was so hurtful. It doesn't matter whether I meant or I didn't mean it. It doesn't matter. I was hurting everybody around me. It was a shock. Never occurred to me. I was just going on my own business, just being me, like, I thought nobody cared. In fact, I thought that I was all alone in the world. I didn't think there was anybody else. Yeah, all kinds of people that said things, whatever it is, whatever. So alone that it was like, hello, totally alone. So I behaved the way I behaved, and I didn't really, suddenly, some 50, 60 years later, people tell me, you have no idea how painful, your behavior was. I don't know if this reverberates with any of you. But suddenly, I used to behave with my wife a certain way, and I was absolutely certain that I am in the right and she's in the wrong. Then I see, I'm like, I can't believe I behaved that way. Whoa, I didn't even see it. I had no tools even to see it. Rabbeinu says that in order for a person to realize how deep he has sunk, how much he's really held hostage by his averis, his way of doing things, that the slowly pulled him into it, is by a person suddenly, the Rebbe says, when a fly gets into his nose, when suddenly an unexpected aver, like, this is too much, this is too far, even for me. You go, whoa. And suddenly a person takes a look at himself and says, like, I can't believe I did that. I really have to put my act together. This is like ridiculous. And then the Sitra, everything gets swallowed from you, and gives it back. You come to a new realization because the Goy came, Yisro came, a Tefillah Prilas Din came. Sitra swallowed it. Now I got you. I can't believe I did that. And suddenly a person takes a look at themselves and says, whoa, I'm really alive. This is my life. I can't be fooling around like this. I can't be taking things like, okay, it'll be fine. God will forgive me, whatever. You can't do it. Come on, this is it. That's the show. It's not preparation for the show. It's not the grand rehearsal. It's not a dress rehearsal. It's the show. You're facing live pitching. Now it's happening. So sometimes a person needs to be woken up. The way it does is that Tefillah B'chinas Din of the Tzaddik L'Baal HaKoach HaGodol. It can show itself in various ways. But it's always when the Tzaddik L'Baal HaKoach HaGodol goes into the place and says, that's it. He's mine. He's toast. Might as well stick a fork in him. He's done. And the Sitra has to throw up all the stuff that not only did, but it also gives from its own chayas. That Hashem, we will continue learning, but we're just getting into the Torah. Now the thing is, I got to tell you, I got to be honest with you. Okay? I was a kol mochiach haroi or not, whatever. Since the attendance varies from week to week, every time we have to start from the beginning. So we keep on repeating the same thing over and over and over again. We always did that, in order to encapsulate and digest the Torah. But it sort of like makes it difficult to actually go ahead and continue. And, it's a very large teaching. So besides the fact that it'll probably feed my ego, no. I hope to see all of you next week. Parshas Mishpatim, right? It's Hashem. And you should all have a good Shabbos. So that's Hashem is there to see great Yeshuas and great Nisim. That Hashem. We're getting close. Don't listen to anything that they're saying. The outside, this to do, not to do, you don't know what the heck they're saying. Shem Yazol. Call to. Let's. All right. All right. Let's try to.